collection and presentation of data. We all know that collecting data of people that may become clients in future is quite crucial for every business. Collection of data plays an important role for appropriate analysis of research. In this lesson, we will discuss about data collection, data classification, and the tabulation concept of data. After going through this presentation, you should be able to discuss collection of data and explain classification of data, describe tabulation, define general rules for making diagrams, and to analyze types of diagrams. The procedure for collection of data depends upon various considerations, such as objective, scope, and the nature of investigation. Data may be collected by either or both of the two types of sources like primary and secondary. The methods for collection of primary data are: first is the direct personal observation. In this method, the investigator collects data by having direct contact with the units of investigation. Second is the indirect oral interview. Under this method, the investigator collects data from a third party or witness or head of an institution, etc., who is supposed to be in touch with the respondents. Third is information through local agencies or correspondence. Under this method, local agents or correspondents are appointed in the different parts of the area under investigation. Fourth is information through questionnaires filled by respondents. In this method, the information is collected through the filling of questionnaires by the respondents. And the last is information through schedules filled by investigators. The information obtained through mailing the questionnaires to the respondents is generally incomplete and unrepresentative. The data collected and used by some other person or agency for an investigation in the past, when used for the investigation of a current problem, is known as secondary data. Secondary data may be available in published or unpublished form. In published form, the data are available in magazines, research papers, newspapers, government publications, international publications, etc. Classification is the process of arranging the available data into various homogeneous classes and subclasses according to the investigation. There are 5 types of classification of data. These are: when the data are classified according to geographical location or region, it is called a geographical classification. When the data are classified on the basis of its time of occurrence, it is called a chronological classification. When the data are classified according to certain conditions other than geographical or chronological, it is called a conditional classification. When the characteristics of the data are non-measurable, it is called a qualitative data. In case of quantitative data, the characteristic is measurable in terms of numbers and is termed as variable. For example, weight, height, income, the number of children in a family, the number of crime cases in a city, life of an electric bulb of a company, etc. A discrete variable can assume only some specific values in a given interval. A continuous variable can assume any value in a given interval. Tabulation is a systematic presentation of numerical data in rows and columns. Tabulation of classified data makes it more intelligible and fit for statistical analysis. The main objectives of tabulation are to simplify complex data and to highlight chief characteristics of the data. Classification of data is a base of tabulation because first the data are classified and then tabulated. Types of tables depend on the purpose of investigation, nature of presented figures, and construction. Tabulation of the collected data can be done in 2 ways. First, by manual method, and second, by mechanical method. A diagrammatic presentation is a simple and effective method of presenting the information contained in statistical data. The following rules should be observed in their construction to make a diagram more effective and useful. Every diagram must have a suitable title written at the top. A diagram should be constructed in such a way that it has an immediate impact on the viewer. Diagrams should be drawn accurately by using proper scales of measurements. The selection of an appropriate diagram should be carefully done, keeping in view the nature of data and the objective of investigation. The source of data must also be indicated if the data have been acquired from a secondary source. The constructed diagram should be simple so that even a layman can understand it without any difficulty. The selection of a particular diagram depends upon the nature of data, objective of presentation, and the ability and experience of the person doing this task. One-dimensional diagrams are also known as bar diagrams. In case of one-dimensional diagrams, the magnitude of the characteristics is shown by the length or height of the bar. Line diagram, simple bar diagram, multiple bar diagram, percentage subdivided bar diagram, deviation bar diagram, and duodirectional bar diagram, etc. are the types of one-dimensional diagram. In case of a two-dimensional diagram, the value of an item is represented by an area. Such diagrams are also known as surface or area diagrams. Popular forms of two-dimensional diagrams are rectangular diagrams, square diagrams, and circular or pie diagrams. With the help of three-dimensional diagrams, the values of various items are represented by the volumes of cube, sphere, cylinder, etc. Now let us check if we have understood the various concepts discussed in this lesson clearly. We cannot construct frequency distribution tables for nominally or ordinally scaled data. Right or wrong? Wrong. The frequency distribution represents data in a compressed form. Right or wrong? Right. A frequency polygon is appropriate for graphing continuously distributed variables. Right or wrong? Wrong. Before we end, let us briefly revise what we have studied so far. Collection of data is done primarily by primary and secondary sources. Presentation of data is provided through tables and charts. A frequency distribution is the principal tabular summary of either discrete or continuous data. A tabular summary of data showing the number or frequency of observations in each of the several non-overlapping classes is called frequency distribution. Histogram is a graphical representation of a frequency distribution, relative frequency distribution, or percent frequency distribution of quantitative data constructed by placing the class intervals in the horizontal axis and the frequencies on the vertical axis.